we're going to be talking about ethics and morals. And I have a very special guest today, Dr. Ryan Bisel. He's going to help us out. So let's get into it. Hey there, Alex Lyon here. Welcome back. And today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Ryan Bisel from the University of Oklahoma. And he is a professor there in communication. He's also an expert or authority in the area of organizational communication. He has a special focus on leadership, morals, and ethics. In fact, he wrote a book on this. It's a fantastic book. I will put a link to his book, Organizational Moral Learning, in the description below. You can find it on Amazon. And today, because he's studying organizations and communication in the workplace, we're not going to take a deep philosophical and historic look at ethics and morals. We're going to look at what this looks like in your daily life, how you encounter it today. So we're taking a practical look, and that's why Ryan is the perfect person to come and talk to us about this. So welcome, Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the channel. Good to see you.
Hey, Alex. Thanks. I really appreciate being here.
It's great to finally have you on. So, by the way, we're doing a two-part series. This is the first video in a two-part series, and the next video is on organizational ethics, and that's going to get more into the practical, what do you do, how do you confront ethically questionable behavior when you see it in and around the workplace. So that's when that video is done and edited, I will post it and link to it in the description below this video. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, Ryan, how did you first become interested in studying communication, leadership, and morals in the organization?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I come from a family where we put a high premium on telling big stories and being funny at the dinner table, and I think probably my love of communication started there. And I think it just grew. And once I realized in college that this is something that I could study and make a career out of, I was hooked. And then once I really got into those studies, I found organizational communication, leadership communication, and that was it for me. I just kept going ever since, and it's been a great ride. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that background. So let's talk about these two related concepts. What are the similarities and differences between ethics and morals?
Well, yeah, I think that's a great question. So ethics and morals in some ways are the same, and depending on how you're thinking about it, you might say their use of those terms are slightly different. So ethics and morals both really just refer to widely shared standards of right conduct. That's really what we're talking about here, widely shared standards of right conduct. And so in the research and social science, you'll see we use ethics and morals interchangeably. My understanding is that the same is true in contemporary philosophy as well, with some small exceptions. For the most part, experts in these areas, they kind of just use these terms as synonyms. And for the most part, I think that makes really good sense. For example, in organizational ethics, studies of organizational ethics, we have terms like moral identity and moral imagination and moral mum effect. Well, all of those are in the study of organizational ethics, and it just works pretty seamlessly that way.
Okay, so there are two sides of the same coin. People who study this use those words depending upon the sentence structure, depending on the concept, the thing they're looking at. But yet we do have different terms for these. So what are some of the differences?
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think so, from a communication perspective, even though maybe we're really talking about the same thing, I think you see a pattern of when the vocabularies come up. From my perspective, I think you see people use the term ethics in more formal, maybe professional and corporate settings. The word ethics is probably much more common. For example, therapists have a professional ethic of not having a romantic relationship with a client, of course, and that makes really good sense. It's an important professional ethic of being a therapist. Now, on the other hand, I think you tend to see the term morals being used more often in maybe informal settings, maybe religious communities, maybe even just among friendship groups, that kind of thing. So example, if you know somebody who you think of as very honest, if you think of somebody who's you can trust them with handling money, we might say so and so has great morals. I appreciate their morals, that kind of thing. And again, we're really talking about widely shared standards of right conduct in both cases. But I do think it's safe to say there's a kind of pattern when we tend to select some vocabulary over others, just in everyday talk. Yeah.
Right. So I really, that resonates with me. I kind of see it starting like a diamond, where at the top we're starting with the same thing. And then there are some people who talk about it a little differently here and there, but really at the end of the day, as the expression goes, we come back to the same place. And in most cases, we can use these concepts interchangeably. So where do our ethics and morals come from?
Well, that's a yes, that's a big question for sure, and I think that we're still working through that question. It's an important one, but I think the contemporary thinking is that our morals and our ethics, they really come from both biology and culture. You got to kind of say both. It's a matter of both nature and nurture. And there's a lot of really good evidence to suggest that there's a neurobiological foundation of moral decision making. And there's some fascinating, clever experiments out there these days. For example, with children, even pre-verbal infants, that demonstrates they're able to make some moralistic evaluations pretty reliably. And that's a really profound insight on one level to realize this kind of thing. And of course, we cannot understate the value and importance of culture. And sources of culture would be, of course, our family culture and our friendship network, our communities, including our religious communities, and our nations, our professions, and our organizations. All of these create important cultural influences on our ethical and moral decision making.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that no matter where you come from in the world, no matter who you are as an individual, there is a place. Even though our ethics and morals might differ slightly in some ways, we all have that sense of right and wrong in our conscious, woven into us. And we also have that sense of right and wrong coming from our cultures, our communities. So those are two huge sources. So why are they important today to societies and to us as individuals? Why are morals and ethics still relevant now?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course they are. It's powerful. Maybe the easiest way to answer that kind of question is to say we all hate being the victim of unethical behavior. Nobody likes to be lied to or cheated. Nobody likes to be gossiped about, and that list goes on, of course. And so we know that people's behaviors can hurt, and so just even in small ways. But of course, they can hurt in really profound ways as well. The ruining of people's finances or of the environment, and that list. The exploitation and injustice that can happen, and we continue to see all of which point to the fact that, of course, ethics and morals, they matter and they're key because people are key. People are worthy of our ethical care and treatment of them.
That's wonderful. Yeah, without that sense of right and wrong and nurturing that in ourselves and in societies, we'd be in deep trouble, even deeper trouble than we're in now. We need those guideposts to keep ourselves and our societies moving in the right direction. And one of those key directions, of course, is life in the workplace. We spend more time in the workplace, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, many of us more than that. And so it's a real hot topic in terms of organizational ethics. So I think this is a good stopping place to say the next video in this 2-part series looks specifically at organizational ethics. And Ryan is going to be my guest as well on that video. So when that's done and posted, I will put a link to that in the description below the video. And I would just like to one more time remind you that Ryan does have a book on organizational moral learning. And I believe, Ryan, there's also a case study book that sort of goes along with this. Is that right?
Yes. So we have an organizational communication textbook and an organizational communication case study book. Yeah, thanks.
And morals and ethics are like a theme in almost all your research and publications. So I really appreciate that you're working so hard on that. Well, Ryan, thanks for being on the channel today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yeah, enjoyed my time. Yeah, thanks.
Good to have you. All right. Well, thanks. God bless. I'll see you all next time. Julian Miravel, you know him, right? Or know of him, or
Yes.
he was saying one time that, a client wanted him to come in to talk for like 10 minutes or something. And he was like, 10 minutes? He said, look, the shortest I can talk is 50 minutes. I'm
Yes.
trained. I can't say anything in less than 50
Right.
minutes on
Yes.
a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And